Culture, the podcast, a weekly live show where we explore the power of culture and leadership in business. I'm Ryan McCarty.
And I'm George Rogers, and we go live every week to learn from each other and hear from other experts about how to effectively champion our team members and ourselves. So join us live every Wednesday on our social networks or subscribe. You can listen to Apple, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Now, let's champion your culture.
What's up? What's up? What's up? We are here in the studio together again.
Guess who's back?
Back again. George is back. Tell a friend. Hey, and we got a friend here today too.
We got a friend of a friend that is a friend of me.
Yeah.
And so we'll have to bring him out a little bit later.
All right, cool. We have really special
guest. We want to make sure everybody
the most special guest of all specialist guests ever.
Our
that were
first special guest of 2023. Is that correct? I think so. Do we have one in January?
I think this might be our only guest so far this year.
So what a way to bring out a guest than the special guest that we have today. We're so excited. Thank you again, as always, for joining Ryan and I on Champion Your Culture, sponsored by Culture of Good. And we are delighted. We're excited to be engaged with the opportunity and an honor to have you with us as our guest, whether you're watching live and or you watching or listening on your platform of choice. We appreciate it. And we're excited about having you today, as always.
Yeah, and Culture of Good obviously sponsors this every single week, and we want to make sure that if you are looking for any solution for leadership development, culture development, reach out to us on culturegood.com. We're always there to help. That's what we do. And yeah, we love it. It's good to love what you do every single day.
And it's, on top of that, there's a lot of people that love what they do, Ryan, but I am excited because I love what I do and who I get to do it with.
That's the thing, right? Yeah.
And so that keeps me engaged. And it empowers me because, I see you grow. I see where you are. I see your ups and your downs. And we do life together, man. It's such a joy to know that whether we're laughing or we're crying, the way you don't like yourself, I don't like me sometimes. Touche. You
got that right.
There's a song about that somewhere coming out soon.
That's an interesting concept too. Yeah, my rap song. All right, for those that are out there, I do have a couple rap songs that I recorded recently. So yeah, George is giving a little shout out to that. But that's interesting what you're saying, because it really doesn't matter if you have a great culture, loving what you do. If you don't love who you're working with, it ruins the experience, right? It's like going to Disney with family you don't like.
There's nothing like that. That's the only bright side about going to Disney with family you don't like is that you could lose them. There's plenty of.
I thought you were gonna say there's still a turkey leg. You can still eat a turkey leg.
Yeah, there's plenty of food around, and there's plenty of people that you could probably find that you could like.
Going to Disney with family that you don't like is like enjoying your work and working with people you can't stand.
Very true. Very true.
Very true. It's good to love what you do, love why you do it, and love who you do it with, right? And I think that's really what we talk about on Champion Your Culture every single week. For those that are joining us, thank you for being a guest with us. Really, we see you as more than just a guest. You're part of this community. We're learning together. We're growing together. George and I don't know everything. We're experts in this space of leadership and culture simply because we're practitioners. We've done this for decades, right? And we've known each other for almost 30 years?
30 years, yeah. It'll be
not almost, yeah. This year is 30 years, I think.
It'll be 30 years this summer.
Yeah, pretty wild. So 30 years ago, George and I met, and here we are with you. So we do feel like this is a community. And we appreciate you jumping on. And if you have a question or want to add something to our conversation, just chat. Throw it in the chat there. We'd love to hear back from you. If you're in a workplace where you're like, you know what, we're really doing this really well, we'd love to hear that as well.
Yeah.
We like to point out the positives, not just, hey, there's a lot of toxic cultures out there, because some of us work in really good cultures. I know what we have here at Culture of Good and in the Round Room family. It's not perfect, but it doesn't suck.
Yeah.
It's a really good culture.
Yeah, it's understanding there's always going to be progress, right? There's no end to the journey until life ends, right? And so it's always something that you can do better. Leadership can always be developed, growing and getting to the next level. But I am excited that we're in a place in the workplace where we have good leadership. Scott Moorhead does a hell of a job, empowering and leading the group of people here. And so it's great.
It makes a huge difference. One of the things, bringing up Scott, that leads us into this conversation today, is when we went into his office, he has a way of saying things that you're like, okay, let me chew on that a little bit, think about it. And one of the things that we have brought up, and it's always been a consistent thing with Culture of Good, is that that tagline, employee engagement, right? Like, we do really good with employee engagement. You want engaged employees, they need to be passionate about what they do, not just another program.
Yeah.
But when we talked to him about engagement, he said something that really stood out as a CEO that I think is really important that we say on this podcast, because there's a lot of truth in this. He said, you know what, guys, I really don't. Having engaged employees isn't my first priority.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I don't want engaged employees. I want effective employees.
Yeah.
And I thought that's a really interesting thing to say, because it sounds like he's saying he doesn't care about his employees being engaged, when in fact, if you have effective employees, the only effective employees have to first be engaged.
Yeah. Yeah.
What he's saying is, let's graduate from this like first grader kind of culture where we have to like throw ping pong tables and beer on Fridays, and like you can wear jeans, to work now, that kind of thing. And get away from that kind of elementary surface level type of engagement, to say, what does it mean to have effective employees?
Right.
Employees that are effective in their work, effective in why they show up to work. What does that mean? Well, they're engaged, but also the conversation today, somehow they went from engaged to empowered.
Yeah.
Effective employees are empowered employees, not just engaged. I would say if you're effective, you're engaged and you're empowered.
Right.
And so what does it mean to be engaged first? And then what does it mean to be empowered? And I just want to say this, that when studying, and we do a lot of work with frontline managers and frontline employees and developing them, when studying what seems to be of most stress to frontline managers, it's about engagement and it's about the culture, right? And we talk about that a lot, but frontline workers are not stressed out about the culture and engagement. You know what they're stressed out about? Overstaffing. Right? Understaffing, and also not having clarity around why changes are being made, why they're being made.
Yeah.
In other words, they feel disempowered. That 80% of the workforce rolls up to middle management, frontline management, 80%. And out of those, what's the main concern is understaffing, and whether there's clarity around why changes are being made. In other words, they don't feel empowered.
Yeah.
And we see it over and over, right? We're promoting people for failure. We just talked to a manager leader this past week that had a employee that was just stellar, just showing up to work early, working late for almost a decade, working in this company. And what do we do with those type of employees that are really rock star employees? We promote them, right?
Yep.
Well, they were promoted, but they were never developed and trained and given the capacity and competencies that it takes to actually lead people.
Yeah.
And because of that, guess what ends up happening to this great stellar employee? They got fired.
Yeah.
They got fired.
They're really burnt out.
They got fired.
Yeah.
They had to let this employee go.
Wow.
Because you can't depromote somebody. Yeah. Once you promote them, they're there. The problem is promotion without development is a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for failure. We're really promoting people to fail.
Yeah.
Because we're not developing them and empowering them beyond, is this person engaged? We think an engaged employee is the end game.
Yeah.
That's like you hear the, that's when the race starts.
Yeah.
There is no race without an engaged employee. Once they have an engaged employee, then what?
Yeah. Man, that's deep.
I don't know.
I mean, it changes the perspective, right? You go from, I always looked at it in the past. We always talked about coaching up and coaching out employees. But what you're saying is you're promoting out employees without the development that they truly need.
Yeah.
You're literally setting them up for failure in a sense, to not really last long. Because as you said, demotion is not really it's not really a thing.
No, right? It's like we give them the corner office with the window so they can see see themselves leaving.
Yeah, their future. It's when I think about it, the engagement aspect of it, when I think about engagement versus empowerment, I think about when I first felt engaged in a company, I felt emotionally connected to it. Right, there was that emotion to it.
That's engaged,
and I was in, and I felt like I was connected not only to the work that I was doing, but the purpose of why I was doing it. I saw the outcome, right? Not just, hey, I'm putting this stuff together. What's the purpose? Is it effective? Is it making an impact, right? And it's important that everybody understands we're talking about effective employees. We don't want infected.
Infected
employees.
Infected, not effective. Effective.
We want you to have some outcome, some fruit of your labor.
Right.
And so that's so huge, Ryan, when you put it that way, to make sure that you are leading. We talk about leading the life you love. And what that truly means in the leadership aspect of that, and helping other people develop that meaning and that sense of purpose, that sense of belonging, understanding why they should care. We talked about the whole ownership, owning, employees owning the culture. This morning I read something that says employees can own their work, and what that looks like. How do they own their work? It's because they're empowered to do so.
Right. Well, that's the whole thing.
And they're giving that sense of expectation without failure, fear of failure. Right. I can do what I do and how I have been led to do it within the resources that have been given to me to do it. And I don't have to worry about the mistake of, if I do this, I'm not only looking out this window, I'm looking
looking out the door too.
The door too.
Well, and I think it's really important that we understand that when we're engaged, very similar in any relationship, when you get engaged, you feel connected to someone, right? Like when you get engaged to get married, you feel connected. There's emotion. Doesn't mean you're, well, you would hope. Yeah. But that doesn't mean you're an effective spouse. People get engaged and think, well, I got it. Like, no, you don't. Nah, even when you get the paper, it doesn't matter. So the promotion is like getting married. It's like you're engaged.
The relationship
you get married.
just begins.
It just begins. Like what about, I've been married 26 years.
Good
and
golly. That's good, man.
It's been a minute, homie.
Congratulations.
It's been a minute. Well, yeah. Congratulate Qatar for sticking it out with me for so long, yo. But I think, when we think about it in this context, we think about the promotion, but we're being promoted in life when we be, in relationship with someone. But the dynamic of what it takes to have a healthy relationship long term means that I need to be empowered to be a healthy spouse, right? So are we, and how do we empower our employees, not in the context of how do they just become a better employee, but also how are we empowering them to be a better person? Because if you look at the leaders that you've had over your life, it's not because they were skilled at their job that you thought, man, they're the best leader. It's not because they were the smartest person you'd ever met. It's not because they were the most skilled. It's because they were the most human leader that showed up. And we talk about this all the time. Are we not only empowering our leaders to lead in the sense of being a better employee, but are we empowering them to lead as a better human? Are we creating a culture that leaders are able to step up and step into people's lives and really lead them in a way that's transformative. We talked about it a few weeks back, the difference between transactional and transformative leadership. Problem is we're promoting a bunch of transactional leaders. We haven't yet developed this transformative mindset, this growth mindset, this ownership mindset, right? You were talking about how do we get to that place? What are the steps to actually go from engaged to empowered? How do we empower? What does it mean to be an empowered employee? What are those elements of what empowered actually means? You were talking about a few of them earlier.
Yeah.
Before we jumped on.
We talk about the difference. And one of the things I written down is engaged employees have that sense of connection to their work, right? An empowered employee has been given the permission to take authority, right? So it's that step of how do you go from engaged to effective to empowered? I think those are the 3 E's that we can use. We've been saying it a lot in those tiers. And I don't know if effective is after
I would say it's empowered then effective, because you're not effective till you're empowered and engaged. So engaged, empowered, effective.
And so for the empowered employee, it really takes, and I can look back again, as I talked before, when I finally felt engaged, I felt like I was connected to what I was doing. When I felt empowered, I felt like I was given permission. Right. I was given permission. When that permission came, they finally trust me. Right. How often do we hear employees say, man, I don't know if my leaders trust me. Right. They're always micromanage me. They're always looking over me. I don't feel like they trust what I do and the gifts and the talents. When you're empowered, you feel like, man, they finally trust me to do what I do. And giving me permission to do it without fear of, once again, making a mistake. And so having that creativity, having that innovation when it comes to being empowered really helps you thrive to go to that next level. As always, we talk about relationships and marriage. I've been married since 2005, so I'm on my way. I'm knocking on the door. I got a couple of years away from 20. But being married in any relationship, a business relationship, the unique thing about you and I, Ryan, is that from 9 to 5 or 8 to 4, whatever it is, we have a business relationship. Right. I look at you as a leader, although you never had that domination of authority of the title of CEO over me. It's a mutual respect of what we collaborate to do with the one purpose that we have in mind. Right. And that's to help develop and empower leaders and create a culture of good throughout this whole world. Right. And with that, you've trusted me and empowered me. And so with that, I felt connected. I felt that creativity to do what I do at a higher level. Some employees don't feel that empowerment, right? They have engaged, but they don't have that trust and that it takes to get to the next level. And so when I'm engaged, I feel connected. And the root of all these things, the first step in any ship that you're riding on, business ship, friendship, relationship, is communication. That leader has to communicate clearly what this relationship, what this goal is, what is the outcomes, where are we going, what's the direction? This is what I trust you to do. And trust you to be. Ultimately, I don't want you to trust me to do something. I want the day that my leader says, George, I trust you to be you. Ryan, I trust you to be you. Whatever it takes, I trust you. And that's why you're in this position. What you can do is nothing if you can't be who you are.
Right. Because we're human beings, not human doings.
Exactly.
And when I think about a metaphor in terms of how I think about this, an engaged leader is one who's over people. An empowered leader is one who's out in front of people leading them, and an effective leader is one who's walking shoulder to shoulder, side by side with people. That's effectiveness. Effectiveness is very transformative. It means, we always talk about, well, you don't know who I am until you walk in my shoes, right? Well, in order to walk in someone's shoes, that's effective leadership. To be able to put yourself through empathy into that place. The thing that I'm looking at, though, I'm looking at this from several different angles. We got this one angle we're talking about, what does it mean to go from engaged to effective employees and empowered employees, but also ourselves. Like, how do we grow from engaged to empowered? If we're in a workplace that is not empowering people, what does that look like? And we always encourage people to learn a few things about yourself. And this really starts with self-awareness.
Yeah.
What are your values personally, and how are you living up to them? I feel most empowered as an individual when I know my values. I know that I'm living up to those values and I'm honoring them on a day-to-day basis through my work, through my life, relationships, how I spend money. Our values are what we prioritize, the things that really matter to us. And so what are our values? Secondly, what are your strengths? You know, we do the Gallup strengths. We take companies through the manager strengths to discover your top 5 dominant strengths. Gallup is a great way to do that. We can assist with that within your organization or you individually, knowing your values, knowing your strengths, and then knowing your role.
Yeah.
Right. Knowing and one of the ways that you can self-empower yourself is to go to your manager, your supervisor, and say, I want to sit down and talk about my role. Because within a role comes responsibility, comes authority, what you're owning, why you're owning it. You need to discover all of this. And there is a way, in a sense, doing that to start empowering yourself.
Yeah.
To lead. You don't have to wait for someone to empower you to be empowered, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. You got to, there's that step that you really have to take, that initiative yourself, right? Empower. I think that the most important thing is, as a leader empowers an employee, right? A mentee, is empowered by the mentor, encouraged by, I think there's that's that self-leadership that you have to empower yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Just as somebody is giving you permission to do what you're called to do and the purpose of doing it, you have to give yourself that same permission to say, hey, I can do that. That same confidence and speaking those things over yourself is important. I think, Ryan, as we talk about the communication piece, we talk about speaking, life and being life, and empowering those things. Some of the other things that, when it comes to the self-leadership aspect of it, and we see this a lot in a lot of companies, is that it's the difference between what we are saying you need, and that's development, versus the pop-ups that we see in a lot of companies that they think is fruitful in trainings. Hey, we're doing trainings weekly,
right?
But what are you doing to develop them with that training that they have? How it's become
training helps with the engagement piece, right?
Exactly.
And there's nothing wrong with training,
Nope.
but it's the same thing. It's like, that's a piece of a really large puzzle of empowerment. And the larger puzzle of empowerment looks like development, right?
Yeah.
What is not only the competencies, because training is competencies, empowerment and development is about capacity. See, competency is about knowledge and the intelligence of the skill to be able to hone that skill and get good at a skill. Capacity is the ability or the permission. Do I have the capacity? Yeah. Right? My car right now, the spark plugs are messed up. It has the competency of driving like a high-end sports car, because it is.
Yeah.
It's a really high-end, it's nice. It's a nice sports car. That it doesn't have the capacity. It has the competency. It knows how to do it. It's got the mechanisms, but it doesn't have the capacity to do it right now.
Yeah.
Because there's elements of it that aren't working right. And what the thing that we have to come to is, we have to understand that training, one-off training is great, but development means an investment of time, energy, and resource that supports the role that we're putting people into.
Yeah.
What is my role, and what does that entail, and why?
Yeah.
And what am I empowered to do? Right. And learning that. So yeah, very, very, very important to say, get beyond training, because training leads to engaged employees. Development leads to empowered and effective employees.
That's good. That's good. Sometimes, as we're talking here, Ryan and I, we put a lot of time and thought into what we're doing, and what we really want to get to. And then there's times where I just want to just hug him, because he's like, you didn't say that in the preparation. Like, where did that come from?
I don't know.
It's just anointing. But we talk about that. So communication, we talk about providing the training and development opportunities when you're investing in your employees professionally. right? I've seen thriving when I think about effective, and I'm just going to throw this out there. When I think about, we talk about engaged employees, we talk about the development brings empowered employees. When I see the effectiveness of that, empowered to professionally development. When I see companies, and they're few and far between, but companies that don't only provide development for you from a professional standpoint, but development for an individual, right? Because a better Ryan makes for a better team member, employee.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the higher level of effectiveness, because you are truly able to do and be you. You're effective, and the investment is not just for the purpose of the business, but now it's for the purpose of what does Ryan want to do.
I want to read this, because this is one, and I have permission to do this, but I won't mention the person's name. But I got a message recently, a text, to speak to what you're talking about. It said, the understanding of strengths and open communication that he's learning through professional development at work is also tied into his personal development. And he said, this stuff works in personal life as well. He and his wife both feel that they're more on the same page than they've ever been before.
Wow.
And I never even brought the personal as much. It's this understanding that when we think about work life, one of the ways to bring work life harmony into the workplace is for companies to provide exactly what you're talking about, professional and personal development. So it ties it in and says, we believe that when we make you better, you make us better.
There's an investment, right? And so when you're healthy, we talk about, we've been discussing the mental and the well-being of individuals. And that matters. That matters so much, because we also, on the other hand, I remember at a young age, I would always tell boys, hey, leave the baggage at the door. Don't bring any trouble. But that's who we are. We're human beings. We can't just
you can't leave stuff at the door.
You can't drop it. You gotta live. And so how do we live and work through this together? How can I help you, support you? What resources? We talk about those things. And so we have the communication, we have the development, the autonomy, right? To where you're empowering your employees by giving them the freedom to make those decisions, and then celebrating them, right? Celebrating those successes, because you know what's going to happen when you don't do something good.
And so, but celebrate the try.
Yeah.
To your point, like, if you can't fail, how do I know I can fail? Well, we need to like have a drink after work. You tried really hard. It didn't work. Great try.
And sometimes it's a funny try. Like, what the hell were you thinking?
Right.
But I'm glad you learned from that. What can we do better?
We can celebrate.
We can celebrate those things. And so we don't do that enough, man. We don't celebrate.
We should celebrate you ruining the podcast last week. By the way, you did it. It was totally fine.
It was the wrong button. I thought I swiped.
For those that were on last week, it was pretty funny.
He was podcast.
He was in Honduras, and I had no idea that when he jumped off, I was still on there. Boy, I was going for it, man. I was preaching a sermon for 30 minutes. It was really funny. But anyway, I mean, it's like, who cares? These things that we get worked up about just honestly don't matter. You know what really matters at the end of the day? That you know that people cared about you, that they know that they're there. And that's why we're saying, if you want to empower yourself, know your values, know your strengths, and know your role. You know? And if you want to empower your team members, know their values, know their strengths, know their role. Right? If you don't know their role, if you don't know what they're supposed to be doing as a leader, we just kind of put people into positions and we don't stay connected with that. Know your values, know your strengths, know your role. Same with your team. What are their values? You want engaged employees? Teach your values, teach the strengths of the company, the culture of the company. If you want empowered employees, teach their values, their strengths, and there you go.
That's the individual development. Right, having the IDP, for yourself and also for the team. And how does this all align? How does your values align with the team values, and how does our team value then align with the company values?
And the strengths of the team, and all of that. And I, this can seem quite overwhelming, but again, value, strengths, and role. Value, strengths, and role. Stick to those three things. Now, we want to kind of finish off this topic because I want to bring in a special guest. Do you have anything else to add to this piece?
I think when you implement these strategies and some of the things that we're saying you should apply in your culture in the workplace, you can really. I've seen it done so many times, Ryan. We see it, and sometimes we see it and we don't see it. Right? We see it afterwards. We have to step sometimes out of the picture and really step back and see where you've been and where you are today, and then really plan out where you're going. Those are some of those steps that we have. But when you can shift from having engaged employees to having empowered employees, the productivity, the motivation, that commitment to the success of not only just the business, but to myself and what that truly means, it really leads to a better outcome for everyone that's involved. And so I want to encourage people. We don't just talk about these things on this podcast to just kind of throw out, something and
throw ideas,
throw a noodle on the wall and see if it sticks and it's done, right? No, these are things that we've seen over the course of 10 plus years, really in leadership for over 20 plus years for both of us, that we've been through, gone through, worked through,
been there, done
that. And we've seen it, and we're seeing it in small organizations where we're implementing it. We're seeing it in large organizations. This is not, for a certain type of industry. This is for people. If you got people, this stuff is for you. And so if you're interested in more, you can always look up culturegood.com. Reach out to us there. You can find us on social platform as well. PM us for a message if you're interested in any type of leadership development.
Like the show too, and share it. We need to get this message out. So if you're one of our community, we want to grow our community and look for new ways of doing that. So without further ado, we want to bring in our special guest, Dexter. Holla, come in between us here, Dex. Let's see if you can fit in here. So
go in there. There you go.
And you're gonna come all the way in here because we're gonna have to get you close to the mic. This is Dexter, everybody, and this is the camera right here. Say what's up.
What's up?
These are short and sweet. What's up?
Tell us a little bit about yourself. How old you are, all that kind of good stuff.
I'm 8, and my last name's Helm.
Nice.
And I have a great cousin and a great dad.
Oh,
listen, we absolutely love Dexter because I saw last night you were cutting your dad's hair.
Yeah, so we had an opportunity. This is home, Indianapolis. For those who don't know, I was born and raised here. I live in Nashville now. We live in Nashville now. But whenever I come home, whether my barber comes to me or I'm here, 10 o'clock last night, I gave him a little text message around 8:30, 9 o'clock. Hey, bro, I need you. He says, anytime, as long as my nephew's with you. So I had Dexter with me. And, he's teaching Dexter. He wants Dexter by the time he's in middle school to be able to learn how to cut hair, just to have a little side, opportunity, business opportunity, be able to make some money when he's in high school. So, yeah, Dexter, started my haircut for me last night. And so he's learning how to cut hair.
It looks
yes,
good. What part did you cut?
He did he got it all the way to the face. So
I saw that.
He trimmed all that. So he got the grays. I went on vacation, man, and I started getting more grays. I was like, what's going on? But I came back with a new patch of gray right here in my lip. I thought I had
catching up to me. Look at me, man.
I just hope there's good balance. Like, you got a good balance. It's not just like patchy. It's kind of, and so yeah, I'm hoping that is. But Dexter, what do you love, man? What do you like to do?
I like to play Minecraft, and I want to watch the new Power Rangers show coming out.
Oh,
the new Power Rangers, yeah.
He's into that Minecraft.
So I'm going to ask you a question about business. You ready for this? Mm-hmm. All right. When you think about what's special about your dad as a leader, you know how he's a leader. What makes him a good leader?
He cares for his workers, and he's really nice.
Yeah, he cares for his workers, and he's really nice. And that's what we talk about here on this podcast. Yeah.
He watches.
You owe him some money now.
Now
he's going to the new Power Rangers movie, right?
Yeah. He's going to the new Power Rangers movie.
So he cares about his people, right? The people that work with him and on the team, and that really matters because as a leader, it's really important to do it. What's a bad leader?
One that doesn't care about his workers, and one that treats them bad.
Yeah.
Even if they're good workers.
Yeah. Yeah. And you see that a lot of times too. It's really important to be a good leader. So bad leaders are ones who don't care and they treat their employees bad. Yeah. Yeah. And it's as simple as that. Sometimes we overcomplicate it, but you heard it straight from Dexter here. You want to be a good leader, care about people.
Yeah.
Right? Treat them well. Treat them nice. Be kind. Be a caring person first. I think that's really important, right? If you're a caring person, you're going to be a caring leader, and that really matters. And so, what's your most favorite thing to do?
Play Legos.
Play Legos. Legos? I said logos.
Ryan
I'm getting so old, I forget what they're called.
Ryan likes to create logos.
Create logos.
And you like to build Legos.
Exactly.
And so when you build a Lego set, you can holler at Ryan to create a logo for it.
That's perfect.
Awesome. Is there anything? What's one thing you and I we get to travel a lot, and sometimes you have me on your little YouTube thing. He's like taking content. He's recording a lot of content. He wants to have his own YouTube channel. But what's something that you would encourage people, and you got to talk real loud so they can hear you, because I think you have great words. What's positive advice that you can give everybody that's watching us right now or listening to us? What's something really positive you can give them to help them become a better leader? And this is live, ladies and gentlemen. We didn't prep them up for anything.
Wow.
But yeah, just share anything that you have on your heart.
So if I was you as a leader, I would make sure that my workers are okay. They get they have snacks, and that you check on them in a couple times in the day and tell them you're doing a great job. And and another thing I would do if I was gonna be a leader one day, I would make sure to treat my workers like family.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Showing a little compassion and empathy.
I like the snacks.
The snacks. I think the snacks are more. The snacks are more for him. He wants to make sure he needs some snacks.
I love it.
You don't want to see this leader hangry, ladies and gentlemen. You got to give him some good sleep, and you got to make sure he's fed. Ain't that right?
You know, that's really interesting because we talk about that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and another thing that if you want to work night shift, you can, but I will make sure you can get some sleep.
Yeah.
There it is.
Gotta get good rest.
Yeah. So really making sure that each one of your team members are also taking care of themselves. It's awesome, man. It's awesome. You heard it. You heard it. That's the expert right here. So thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today, man.
You're welcome.
It's a very special thing for us. So do you want to sign off, which means end the podcast for us? We're all going to say champion your culture together. Okay. All right. So we're real excited about having our special guest today, Dexter. So you heard it from the expert. George and I are always happy to be with you every single week. As always, reach out to us on Culture of Good if you are looking for any leadership and culture development. And as always, we will see you back next week on Champion Your Culture.